Good morning, Daniel Schwartz here. It's story time this morning. So, growing up, we had a little patch of woods down by the Wabash. Uh, my dad fenced that in and threw quite a few summers and turned the horses out there. There's a lot of feed down in there, and usually, with the Wabash flooding and all that, by the time you could turn the horses down in there was plenty of feed. And they'd come home so sleek and shiny, their hair coats just shone. And my dad's theory was, hey, there's a lot of brush down in there, and the horses walking through that brush all day, every day, it's like it's combing them, and that's why they're so shiny, because they got combed shiny. And that's just the story, we ran with. That's what Dad believed, and we moved up to Wisconsin, and we had a woods here too with lots of brush. Same thing, you turn the horses out in there in the spring and summer, and after a while they were all shiny and sleek, and we thought the brush, walking through the brush and the weeds and stuff, is combing them all day and making them so shiny. As I got older, I read everything, man. I was hungry for knowledge, and I wanted to learn about all these things and how to take care of animals better and stuff. And I was reading about cattle and how that it's good feed. Your horse cannot have good shiny hair unless they're healthy, and their bodily health promotes good, healthy, shiny hair. Obviously, in the winter, our horses were often really skinny by the end of winter, and their hair coats were really rough and dull. And then they'd get out on good feed, and they'd shed that winter coat, and they grew a really shiny, nice new coat. Had nothing to do with getting combed by the brush. It's just because they were on really good feed. Also, when you're in the woods, you don't get as much sun beating down on you. There's more shade, so the hair coat didn't dull as quickly. So once I learned this stuff, I thought, hey, I'm going to tell everybody why the coats are actually shiny. It's not because they're getting combed, because I was foolish. I thought people would want to know. No, nobody wanted to know. Everyone wanted to stick with the story that the horses are getting combed by the brush, and that's why they're shiny. That story was repeated, even though I had already proved it wrong, because we had animals that we would tie out and they didn't have brush to walk through, and they were just as shiny. It was because they're eating healthy. Now, this might seem like a silly little story, and who cares, right? Who cares? Who cares that this little story, people wanted to believe the wrong thing? Who cares? But it's really important, because it wasn't just one little story. That's how many things were handled. That's how many things are handled. It wasn't just one little story. And that kind of thing is really destructive when people start telling stories about other people that aren't true. Now, I'm not saying that people are idiots for believing something that's wrong if you don't know it's wrong. It's okay to have ideas that end up being wrong. Everybody does that. I do that. I think things that are wrong. But when I'm presented with evidence of the truth, and I know the truth, but then I don't backtrack, what if I know that I'm wrong? It's okay to believe something wrong as long as you don't know it's wrong yet. You just believe this thing and it happens to be wrong. Okay, what do you do when you're presented with evidence and the truth? You'd think on a small story it'd be really easy to say, I was wrong. Wow, this is interesting. I learned something new. I'm getting smarter every day. No. There's certain people with a certain mindset that can never be wrong. Even when presented with evidence of the truth, and they know they are wrong, they will stick to that story until they die, or they might accept the fact that they've been wrong in their own head, but they'll never admit it openly, and they will just pretend like this thing that they said for years never existed. They will pretend that they always believed the right version of the story. Once they decide to switch stories, this type of person pretends that they never, ever believed the wrong side of the story. They will only pretend to believe what's right. They'll change the story to what's right, and then they'll pretend that that's what they've always said. Now, on something as small and insignificant as believing why the horse's coat shines, it shouldn't really matter, but it does matter, because that is just one example of how you live your life. And when that kind of mindset is switched onto people, it's extremely destructive. It can be extremely destructive. Ooh, that was bumpy. It can be extremely destructive when you grow up in a household where you are being told that no, all the time. You're being told that no, you remembered that wrong. I never said that to you. That's not how I said it. You remember it wrong. That's not how I meant it. Even if I said those words, it's not how I meant it. And when you're young, you're just confused all the time, because it's like, but I thought that's just not how I remember it. That's not how I remember you saying this or doing that or being more angry than that. I remember you saying these things about me, and now you're saying you didn't say it. And when you're young and it's people you love, you believe it. You believe it. You just, man, I just don't have a very good memory. Why am I having so much? Why do I always remember things wrong? Why do I, And then as you get older, you start to realize you have a good memory. You have a very good memory. You just been gaslit your whole fucking life. You got people surrounding you that when they're wrong or backed into a corner, they will gaslight the heck out of you to confuse you, to back you down so that they can win the argument. Oh, shit. Rough roads that dumped my coffee all over. Oh, well. Anyways. It's really, really destructive on a personal level if you live with people like that. People who, they cannot accept that they were wrong even in the smallest of things. Because that's how they'll be even worse on the big things. So, like, let's say you're told that, let's just say you're told, why are you so angry? And you go, I'm not angry. And the attacker, let's call him, says, yes, you are angry. You're like, no, I'm not angry. And they'll be like, I know you really, really well, and I know when you're angry. You're angry. I'm not angry. Yes, you are. I know you. You're angry because of this and this. And you're like, no, I'm not. You didn't like it when I said this yesterday, did you? And you'll be honest, and you'll be like, I didn't like it, but I'm not angry. And then you try to explain what you're feeling, and they say, yes, you are angry. I know you're angry. And then they push you until you become angry. And that validates them. And then they go, ha, I knew you were angry. And then they push you until you have an explosion. And when you live with somebody like this, your head is, when you're honest and you don't think that way, and you don't think in these deceptive ways, it messes you up. And you don't know, and then you think you did something wrong, and you think you should have had more patience. You think you should do something different. What you don't realize is you're being attacked by an extremely bitter, angry, and vindictive person. It gets really, really tricky too when it starts coming to religion, because a person with this mindset, when they join a religion, they are always right. Believe you me. They might say general things like, oh, in the past I did things that were wrong, but they don't really unless they're caught red-handed and they got no way out, it's very rare for them to openly admit that they actually, or openly say anything specific and repent of anything specific. It'll all be generalized, like, oh yeah, I did things wrong in the past, but I don't do that anymore now. And now that I am a follower of Jesus Christ, I know everything. And then they will want to teach you their ideas and teach you some theology, and you might disagree with them. They will be so certain of their beliefs that they're willing to start pushing you out and shutting you out and getting really upset at you for not following their beliefs. Give it a year or two, and they might still be on the same religious mindset track, but they believe something completely different that contradicts what they were mad at you for 2 years ago. They will never backtrack. They might they'll just point forward and they will teach something new. It might be something completely different and contradicts what they were ready to shun you for 2 years ago because you wouldn't follow them. And they were all upset and causing trouble in your relationship. And then they just drop it and they start on something else. They never ever backtrack and say, you know what? That thing that I was trying to teach you that you and I argued about, that thing that I believe so strongly I was mad at you for, I'm really sorry. I was teaching you something wrong. This is what I believe now. No, they will just promote the new thing. They will push it hard, and they will be just as mad at you for not following down this new path that they have chosen. It's not a new path. It's just a new idea, same old thing. This is what happens with people like that in a religious setting. And if you're not aware of what's going on, you're going to be constantly confused. You're going to be spinning in circles. Often someone like this is really good at masking the inner problems. They put forth this great persona that looks like a really good person, and you want to follow this person because you think they're great. But they're swapping ends, and then they're mad at you, and you can't figure out why. Then you see into their heart, and you see into their soul, and you see how they really feel about you, and how they really think, and you see how lost they are, and how bitter they are, and how angry they are. Then you understand. Then you understand that these people are just broken little kids who had traumatic things happen when they were little, and they have emotionally scarred and healed over and not grown since whenever the trauma happened. Was it 8? Was it 12? You will see that they handle conflict like a child because emotionally they're stuck. If you see somebody handling conflict with avoidance or bluster, they never learn how to face conflict as an adult and think things through and calmly talk things over. They never learn how to handle disagreements. It's like a little child. If you disagree with me, you hate me. That's the ideology. That is how children think. No wise grown adult should think that way. If you disagree with me, you hate me. That is a child, mentally and emotionally. You can disagree with somebody's ideas, maybe most of their ideas, and not hate the person. It's hard for people to understand that. But that's my ramble for the day. If you've had these experiences where you're just confused all the time, or you grew up confused and you're accused of things, and you just think you have a really bad memory because you can't ever seem to remember how things happen, because when you talk about things, the people in your life like this always tell you got your version wrong. You don't remember it right. That's not what I meant. That's not how I said it. You got a bad memory. Okay, you won't back off. I'm going to accuse you of being angry, and I'm going to push you until you're angry so you get distracted what you're talking about. You, my friend, you need to stop following them and believing what they say. You need to find peace in here and seek Jesus Christ and Him alone and the wisdom of the Bible, and put this behavior behind you, because then you can heal. If you keep striving after these people trying to make them happy, it will break you, because you have an honest and sincere soul and you want to do what's right, and these are your loved ones, and you think you can reach them. Man, if you're an adult and it's just going on and on and on, or even getting worse, it's time to break free. It's time to set firm boundaries and say, nope, I have a good memory. I know exactly what I did and what I said, and I know what you said, and I don't forget it. They will remove themselves from their life, because once they see they can't pull the shade over your eyes, they can't hoodwink you, they can't trick you anymore. And once they see that you know how false they're being, they'll remove themselves from their life, because they don't want to change. They just want you to be there for them, and they can behave however they want. It's really sad. My heart breaks for people living this way, because how must they feel every day inside to treat other people the way they do? You all have a God blessed day.